Political shockwave erupts in Raila Odinga's AU candidate succession as Ahmed hashi seems to understand who is probably going to be the AU chairperson comes next year, Feb, a time like this. And without wasting of time, let's listen to him as he delivered bad news to former Prime Minister on his AU candidate bid.
Ahmed, first to you. You worked with Odinga during the Grand Coalition government, and you know the man. Before we get into the nitty-gritty details of what awaits the man and the country ahead of the continent-wide campaigns, what can you tell us about the persona?
Good morning. I think what is important is to look at the context today of the African continent and the states and the nations that are there and how we expect they're going to behave towards Kenya's candidate, Mr. Odinga. I think Mr. Odinga is going to lose this election in Addis Ababa, and I think I'm the only one who thinks that. I think that across the board, everybody believes that he's going to win. I will be shocked if he gets even a slim majority. I think the candidate from Djibouti is going to win a landslide. And I'll tell you why. First, let me give you a little bit of a context on the African continent. I think there are three things that are happening in the continent. There's a rebellion of the youth, as you know, as we have it here in Kenya, across from Senegal all the way to the Sahel, all the way to Sudan. There is a popular national democratic revolution. I can't find any other word for it except revolution or transformation. And one of the major issues that young people are fighting over is because there's bad governance and terrible economy. And the way Africa is structured in the international political economy, it's set up to fail. Because I'll give you a simple example. For an example, in West Africa, there are countries that produce cocoa but cannot build a chocolate factory because they signed it off to the Swiss government. So what this produces is children crossing the Sahara, going to Europe to look for better prospects. In an ironic twist, the wealth that's there, it's already coming from where they're running away from. So there is a malaise on the African continent about transformation and change. And I predicted this on another station, and that change has come here in the form of General Z. And I think it's going to go all the way down to South Africa. Now, the people who are in charge of these nation states around the world have fundamental influence from the metropole. By the metropole, I mean there is this really neo-colonial words that are used for certain sections of Africa. For example, in West Africa, it's francophonie. It's influenced by the French.
Okay.
Then there is some parts that are called lusophone. And then there is the English-speaking ones.
Okay.
And so the AU is divided based on these fundamental tectonic plates. And one of the biggest influences of the AU is the French. Now, Amina, and I was a spokesman at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Chief of Staff there, we knew we were going to win. And then the French government intervened heavily in those elections. And we lost. We even had the support of Djibouti. This Djibouti that is standing here today.
Yeah.
One of the people who stabbed us in the back in that election. I think that the same scenario is what is going to happen in the AU. I think the French, the Sahel areas, major states in Central Africa are going to stand up to the candidature of Mr. Odinga and say no. Secondly, before I pass it on, is that I think this is the wrong move for Mr. Odinga. The question is whether or not in a continent where the 80% of the people are under 25, whether or not it serves the interest of the continent for us to have a man who's retiring in his 80s, whether he's going to have the energy, the vitality, and the gusto to understand and do the necessary issues that are supposed to be done about youth, the youth bubble in our continent. Lastly, you know that the African Union has no teeth. It is a place where an example, I'll give you a simple example. There's been coups in the Sahel. And one of the most important provisions of the African Union is that if you do a coup, you're done. But most Africans support the coups in the Sahel, including their populations, because there has been massive exploitation of resources of the French Republic in the Sahel. For example, the French have the largest gold deposits in Europe, and they don't have gold in France, Ayub.
But you see, is Raila Odinga not understanding French? But I think he must be eligible enough to understand French, even if it is 2 to 3 points. Because the current chairman, who is the outgoing current chairman, also did not make it clear if he understands Kiswahili or even other languages. But he was chosen. So I prefer Raila resemble that man. So when I hear Ahmed Hashi talking this way, then it is a kind of number one, is bitter, is jealous, and is somewhat annoyed with Raila Odinga. Because Ruto is not a madman, bring all East African head of state to State House and launching Raila Odinga's AU succession bid, making his own signature, our president, indicating to the country that they support Raila Odinga with all his State House machineries. And yesterday we watched that what happened in State House. There were almost all Africans present. So therefore, if we come in social media making early prediction, I mean, let us give sometimes the former Prime Minister a break. Hata yeye, Mr. Ahmed Hashi can as well try. He's also a human being. Yeye pia jaribu pasi. Kama anasema Raila hatawezekana na hiyo. Raila have worked for Africa. Remember, he was infrastructure chairman. This is not the first time Raila is trying to set his eyes to African position. But it is just a kind of interest is showing to Africa and Kenya as well. So these also Kenyans who should support Raila Odinga rather than discouraging him on the AU position bid. Anyway, time will tell. I don't want to talk much on that. And that is what seems to happen to Raila Odinga AU bid. What can you say, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you so much, and let's meet on another political discussion. Bye-bye.